One of the most memed profiles in the old edition has now become the most disgusting.
He's looking at Legolas and thinking, I can do better.
Hey, welcome everyone to another Into the West video. I'm Charles, and we have Richard and Ian here. Armies of Middle-earth, fresh off the press. It's a brand new book that we've been waiting for a long time. We're here to give our first impressions on what the best armies in the game currently are after reading some of these new profiles and armies. So we'll be going over and giving our thoughts on the armies that have been updated from the first two Armies of the Lord of the Rings and Armies of the Hobbit books. And then we'll be talking about some of the brand new armies that came in this new book.
We've actually played a few games using some of these armies and some of the new scenarios, but I guess the caveat is that we haven't gone to any big, seriously competitive events with any of the new stuff. So that's why we're likely going to be wrong. But, this is just given off, yeah, on paper and also a little bit of play testing so far.
Also factoring in the new scenarios that we have also had a little bit of experience with, but not a lot.
Yes.
We're also curious to know from our viewers what you think are the best after reading the profiles in the new armies. We're going to go right into the armies that were updated from the first two books. And yeah, so many new armies received new profiles to their lists. And after reading all of the new additions, we have a list of runner-ups that we think that are among the best of the ones in the old books.
Some of these didn't receive too many things from the armies of Middle-earth, so I wouldn't say like new, but they're I guess good enough to stay on the list even after not receiving much love from the third book.
We picked a list of who we think are the runner-ups here. We have Depths of Moria, Fornost, Men of the West, the Eagles, Ugluk Scouts, Dale, Birders Horde, Rivendell, and Minas Morgul.
The stuff from the Arnor PDF we have included in the grouping of the first two books because essentially they were released together and they were played for the first 6 months of the edition. So that's why Battle of Fornos is here. Like, very, very good, but only at certain high level points. So I think that's why it didn't crack the very top for us. Most of these armies we saw plenty of at Adepticon this year. They were just very prevalent before the new book came out. And, we still think that they're still in the running for being competitive. There's a few that are, I think, underrated. Like, I think Birder's Horde. In my opinion, they were underrated before, but I think they might even have a bit of an improvement now with like the new scenarios, given that there's a lot of movement and running up to the center, grabbing prizes. Yeah, Birder's Horde will have some tools for that.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, dropping half your army on the objectives on turn three is pretty crazy.
Rivendell was missing some hero variety, right? That it's got a few more choices
Yeah.
with this new book. So
Yeah, and including legacies, like you're getting Air Store back, and yeah, just they need as much like hero variety as they can.
Yeah. Your build is still pretty much the same for at least your first two heroes, but now there's a lot more choices to go into that third slot of power points. So it's interesting. Minas Morgul is kind of the same thing. They just got a couple extra units dropped in there, which is nice. Like I think they got Kardash and trackers and stuff. So just a couple more options that'll help flesh that out.
The Eagles is in a weird space. Some people thought they were like at the very, very top, but then now I think there's more armies with more tools to handle them. But at the same time, like we're going to talk about a bit more, some of the new scenarios are very good for Guai here and just other Eagles in general. Picking up heavy objectives, you're flipping the ones that need intelligence tests. For some reason, Eagles do not count as beasts, so that's a huge plus for them.
Hmm. Well, it's the same thing for like the Men of the West build, right? It's that, and then also getting the Dom too. it's big in a lot of these scenarios.
Yeah.
I think dominance, you'll see that coming into play a lot more now in these other scenarios where there's a lot more objectives that counted.
So we picked four armies for the very top of the armies from the first two books. In fourth place, we have Defenders of the Pelennor.
We saw it before, and it's just got a bunch more stuff like so much stuff added to it. It still kind of suffers from what it did before, that you drag down, that you have like the keywords limiting who can lead what. But with all the fiefdom stuff getting added in, like you have so many Gondor heroes around and so many different troop options, it's still really good.
You have a lot of options. The army bonus is surprisingly good for like a soup list. And not only just the fiefdom stuff, I think the bolt thrower. I've been seeing it being added to Pelennor, and it looks surprisingly good.
So many people writing these like cheesy lists with it. The one that gets me is the build that has Gandalf the White and the Bolt Thrower, and it just kind of looks like a top of the walls, but better. What?
Yeah.
We'll see. It's a bit of a shame. I think the Rohan stuff is still a little sad, but the rest of it's looking really good.
All right, and then in third place, we have Battle of the Five Armies.
So funny enough, this is third and fourth is me and Ian's Adepticon army. It hasn't changed much, I would say, when it comes to new profiles, but like we just talked about the Eagles, like Guahir is gonna be really, really solid. Like me having played extensively this army, he was already the MVP every game, and now he's gonna be just absolutely carrying the objective literally, carrying you to wins. And you have like the solid troops to back them up, right? That's all you need is to just be efficient, not die too quickly, be able to like stand there and fight. And then Cohere just does the objectives in most of the scenarios.
Yeah, and then like you still get you're not really wanting for any tools. Maybe magic if is your only real option there is Gandalf, but like you're not
Yeah.
really gonna take that, right? You go for
Just
a
go
strong front
Legolas.
line. Yeah,
He's almost magic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just take that. Yeah, like you're saying, it's just really efficient profiles. Like Legolas and here in a list together is going to make it boosted up a lot inherently. But then the fact that you have other profiles in there and stuff that is just still good anyway, even if it's not like great, it's still pretty damn good. So many options.
Okay, in second place, we picked Lothlorien.
So this one's a bit sneaky. I mean, we've all played Lothlorien here in last edition, this edition, but this one was a close one. I think Ian and I were talking about this a little bit previously, and it's close to Battle of Five Armies, I think, but the fact that they're very flexible, especially with all the new profiles they're getting access to again in Armies of Middle-earth, you can build so many different types of builds, different heroes. You can rotate the brothers to go double caster, single caster. You can play at low points, scale to high points. It's just really good.
Like the units that it got added were good, but for the most part, they didn't take any nerfs besides the cavalry, like the warrior limitation. But they were already good before, and now they're just even better. The Sentinels got better. All three of the brothers are like legitimate choices now, and like you can, depending on what you want. Um,
Speaking of the brothers, Orphan is probably the best brother now, which there was a bit of a switch up there.
yeah, he's definitely competing at the top spot. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, it is much more of a choice. It's a nice balance that they limited the heroic stats that he has, because if he was still like 3-1-1 or something, or anything besides like the basic captain ones that he has, he'd definitely be the best. But yeah, no, he's very solid.
I know people were, in the beginning of this edition talking about how Magic took a hit or whatever, but I think having Magic is more important than ever with some of the meta things running around.
Well, it's that, and honestly, it's still Celeborn. That +1 to wound bubble on
Yeah.
owls is just silly. Just turns up the damage so much.
I'm surprised you guys didn't mention that first, because when I look at the army, that's the craziest thing to me. There's the +1 to wound.
It's bringing everything together, and then you have that as well, right?
The +1 to wound was always there. So I think the interesting thing was like people were kind of talking about Lothlorien, but not really before the third book. It was hanging around the top 10, I would say, for most powerful armies, but I don't think it quite cracked the top five. So it was a little bit under the radar. Now it's definitely up there competing in potentially S tier. You'll have to see once we do a tier list if it makes the cut.
It'll be a good video.
The only thing they didn't get is the armored Caliborn, right?
Forever elusive. He's coming back at some point. This is what we know because they haven't gotten rid of him yet.
Okay, and our top pick for the old armies is the Army of the White Hand. Is anyone surprised?
It does function like the other soup list that we were talking about, like Pelennor and Five Armies, right? It basically is that, but now you get all of like the other Dunland stuff that was just added in the legacies.
Let's not fool ourselves. Like it was already sitting in the top spot with all its tools and stuff. It was just the best army in the game. And now they didn't really need all those options. It's nice, but I don't think in a sense like the power level got better. It's nice to have choice, obviously. But yeah, it's just still sitting pretty. It's just still one of the best armies in the game. We're about to talk about some of the new really strong armies that are coming like for the crown for this army. So it'll have some competition, but it's still top tier for sure.
Mhm.
I believe is the Isengard Troll edition that put it over the edge.
It did get massive buffs
But
as a
yeah,
Garchel.
eh, it's just the heroes, the extra heroes getting added, and that's what it does it for me, right? Like I was a big fan of that combo of Saruman and Trident last edition. I thought it was really good, and now with the way channeling works and with the fact that Saruman can throw a -1 on any hero, if you have those two together, it's like
Yeah.
delete button basically, right? It's just another tool that that army has now. Whereas before they could struggle to take down bigger heroes, but now you have the opportunity and the ability to flash kill a big hero if you want to or if you need to. So
Trident did take a bit of a points hike, but yeah,
yeah.
it is a nice combo.
Now we're going to move on to the armies that we got that are brand new to Armies of Middle-earth. And we have a couple runner-ups first, and then we'll be talking about our top three. So in runner-ups, we have first one is Khazad-dûm. So I think this one before the book came out, there was a lot of speculation given what we know moved to Legacy, right? So we were all kind of seeing what they were going to get. And they got some pretty powerful special rules.
They took another list's army bonuses and stole them, and now it has two lists worth of army bonuses.
Wow, superpowers.
It's just like the troops are all like have been solved. They're always solid. Hearthguard going up to fight 5 or Khazad going up to fight 5 is nice. But then when you factor in the rerolling ones everywhere, banner on everything basically, and Dom 2 on all your basic infantry, it's just like, and then there's the mirrors
Yeah.
that are just kind of annoying. Like it's so much stuff.
What Ian said, and it's alongside the mirrors, you put in like elven shooting for cheap on the dwarf rangers. Like suddenly, the dwarves are now like a legitimate shooting threat. Like you're gonna win a lot of shoot wars. So that's very powerful. They've always been really good in combat and melee, and then now you're adding that shooting threat. So, in certain scenarios, the opposing army has to run at you, then, you're laughing there.
Yeah. Because of the way this one builds, because you're basically always going Durn, right? So you're going Durn and a bunch of Hearthguard most of the time. So you're not wanting for damage in it by any means, right? Like strength 4 burly troops rerolling ones. It's a lot of ouch.
Quite painful, potentially lethal.
Obviously, dwarves will always have their weakness, like with their movement. So it'll still kind of have to be seen how they'll fare in some of these scenarios. But yeah, they got a lot of tools for sure.
But that's the thing about the dominance, right? Like if you can get the board pressure and just because you get so many models, right? If you can just slip a few models that have Dom 2 up like the sides to go after back objectives or like in reconnoiter or whatever, like, it's just hard to deal with, especially because they're also such high defense, right? Like it's hard for you to send a couple guys to deal with them. So
Yeah.
it's slow, but it still has the ability to like build and do what it wants to do.
I expected Durin to get a bigger buff, but
He was
the
already great. What can you say?
yeah, but I think that that reroll can't be underestimated, right? Because now it's like they don't almost don't care that they don't have spear supports
Yeah.
because they're going to be rolling the same amount of dice as a spear support.
On like the Durin thing, I still think he is overcosted, but like Fight 7 D9 is kind of ridiculous. Like it's just too big deterrence to even want to go into him to try and like kill him or get points on the leader. So like you give him that and it kind of doesn't matter because all the army bonuses are so good. You're like, "Oh, I'm overpaying for 10 by 10 points." But like I don't give a shit because all these army bonuses are great.
Okay, our other runner-up is the Grand Army of the South.
This one is exciting. Finally, a good, strong, evil soup. Like this one is really awesome to look at. It's basically just all the evil men you can think of. They're all back in all their former glory.
Absolutely. I'm honestly, I used to love running the Suladan Dalamir Amdur combo last edition just to like fuck around and have some fun because they're all great heroes. And now you can actually do that and you get a decent army bonus for evil. It's like, I'm pumped.
Obviously, you have the War Beast option as well in there.
It's so many options that you can get in there, right? It's a crazy amount of versatility.
I mean, you could do like a Mumak and Amdur or something too, something crazy.
Yeah. You basically took 5 army lists and just smushed it into one.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I forgot there's a Mahood now too, right? That you can throw in. So
It's Mahud, it's Khan, it's everybody.
yeah.
It looks like fun. I think just by the sheer volume of troop options you can get, I think you can kind of make some really disgusting combos of they're just very efficient things.
Okay, so third place we have Army of Erebor.
Yeah. So this one, Iron Hills Dwarves, you know, for the most part, it's been a consensus that they've, always been kind of the stronger dwarves, maybe strongest dwarves, depending on who you ask, because they kind of just have everything. They have Cav, they got D8 with shield wall, they got spears, they got crossbows, they got efficient heroes, and then now they got some damn good bonuses. +1 to wound on spear support. That's it. That's probably the best one. Yes, like the free hero combats on the heroes, the Gimli glow and synergy is good, but it's the +1 to wound on the spear supports. Like that's basically just every combat. You don't need to like try to activate it.
You're going to be in a giant shield wall anyway. So
Yeah,
is D8 hitting you at one attack at strength 4, the other one's at almost strength 6 or
sticks. Yeah,
4 +1 to wound, right? It's crazy. And then also when you combine that, just an extra attack behind the heroes that's wounding at +1 to wound. Okay.
so far I've only played one game with this army, and it was against the Last Lions, and I just annihilated the battle line. And so we're talking about elites. I'm going up against Fight 5, D6, Frontline, whatever. I ate it for breakfast. So I personally think that this battle line is probably the strongest in the game right now. Why it's only number 3 out of the new armies is again the door factor, right? The move 5. And I don't know exactly how they'll fare in all the new scenarios that require movement. That's a little bit of a question mark. But do not fight these guys head on and expect to win. I'll say that.
Yeah. They'll probably have a bunch of combat heroes that are getting those free hero combats, but they can take a bunch of fight 6 combat heroes, which is really good. And with the free combats and all their like rerolls to wound and stuff, like they can just blend their troops so quickly. I think in the practice game that I had Gimli and Gloin first turn hero combat, and they ate 8 Easterlings, and they're on foot. Foot heroes don't do that normally.
Yeah, and then enemy heroes are not cracking your D8 line that easily. So yeah, it's nasty.
Yeah.
All right. In second place, we have Host of the Dragon Emperor.
So
He's back.
a returning favorite.
Hey.
This time with more +1 to wound.
They had no +1 to wound before. Now they can get +2 to wound. It's crazy. Crazy. Rerolling ones.
Yeah.
Hey.
So this one is interesting. On first glance, yes, like I had Ian's reaction, or most people probably did. +1, +2 to wound? What the hell? Fight 7 Dragon Emperor. But I think, if you do dig into the details, Rutabi went up in costs. The Emperor does not give free black dragons anymore. So, when you add up all these little like dings to the army, you end up losing maybe like 5 to 6 models. And that's a big difference compared to last edition.
Well, the drum went up in cost too, so that's another model that gets knocked off. And now it doesn't stack with March either, so it's still great, but it's not as good. Yeah, it's all those small things. So at 800, yeah, you lose about the 6 models, but you're still hitting like 40 models, and it's still a very good, solid list. It does fade a little bit once you drop in points values. You actually have to make some choices, which God, you got to make choices now. That's all we wanted. It's an improvement over last edition, at least.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you can still put acolytes in the front rank, get up to fight 5, and that's 2 attacks at +1 to wound, +2 more behind it. It's kind of like the Erebor list that we were just talking about, right? If you stack the volume of dice on it, right? That was everybody's thing. They were saying it was like, wow, it doesn't wound, even though it did wound a lot with the volume of dice. Now it has +1s and rerolling ones, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
So the buffs are better, but then also the area of effect is smaller now. Like you don't have that 12-inch reroll anymore.
Yeah.
I think the 6 inch is still probably pretty close to the everything that you do need. I think what I've seen so far, it's more the 3 inch effect giving fight 5. That one you're gonna have to position a little bit around, and you might not always get fight 5. So if you're facing like an elven army, your whole battle line might not be fight 5, especially if you don't grab the second Dragon Knight, right?
But inverse of that is now every Easterling is fight 4. So,
Yeah, but against an elf army, who cares, right?
well,
So
yeah, it
yes,
doesn't.
like previously you didn't feel like that. It did feel like all Easterlings were already fight 4, and then
Yeah.
like fight 5 was everywhere, just because like the range was so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that I don't think it's the best army in the game. I don't. It's good. It's great, but
It's it it's up there at higher points values for sure. 800, I think it's
yeah,
top 3, top 5. It's up there.
yes, yes.
Um,
But I think under 700, I'm not scared of it.
yeah, yeah. The numbers reduction is a little bit much. It's much harder for them to get. Well, there's probably some builds, but for the most part, I haven't seen a good build.
Yeah.
Okay, and who did we pick for the best new army? We have Moria.
Surprising, perhaps, until
Uh,
the leaks came out and we saw that one of the most memed profiles in the old edition has now become
yeah,
the most disgusting.
yeah. He was looking at Legolas and thinking, I can do better. Took
Yeah.
that as an insult. Personally, took it personally. There you go. Yeah, the dragon with the breathe fire on a 2-up is disgusting, and you do it the whole game. I know that there's some discussion. I guess we were thinking like, is it better in the Dragons of the North one, or is it better in here? We've decided that it's well for us. We think it's better with the Moria just because you can get like 40 goblins with it, um, and then that basically guarantees you can do the breathe fire the whole game, right? Whereas if the Dragons of the North, you're only 2 models, you're probably going to get charged, and it's not going to come off as much.
I don't think it was that much of a extensive discussion because like The Dragons of the North army bonus, to be honest, is way too RNG, way too random
Yeah.
to be good, right? The effects are great, but the fact you have to roll a six after you kill in combat or something like that, you're not getting many of those unless, you get super lucky. So,
You're literally just taking it so you can get the mini smog, right? The one with 3 upgrades.
yeah. I think the true competitive build, why it's the best army that was released in Armies of Middle-earth, is the Moria build of you take one dragon, you take fire breath and fly, 300-point dragon, and then you build around them like a normal Moria army. You can fit in like Druzag and just, goblins, maybe a bat, or you can go Durbers for some, to activate some of the army bonuses if you want. Like, there's actually a few ways to build it, right? You can build out with like a drum at higher points with the dragon, or you can just go goblin spam. Like, it's surprisingly good.
So at 650, you can still hit like 40, low 40 models. It's bare bones. It's mostly just goblins and captains in addition to the dragon. But still, that's so many models with that giant thing that's going to be ripping apart a good chunk of the opponent's army, right? Even before combat or once you hit combat.
Yeah, I've played a game using it and it's gross because you force the opponent to not fight in a battle line because if they do, they get blown up. And if they charge you, charge your dirt cheap goblins with something very expensive, you blow it up with your dragon. The 2+ to hit is honestly too ridiculous. Like it's just way too consistent with might backing it up. Still strength 10, AoE, insta kill. Like it's really hard to fight.
I didn't think about the shooting into combat thing until you mentioned it like yesterday. Just, yeah, oh my God. Like, how do you can't play against that unless you have something of your own that's like a flyer, something that can go through terrain and tag the dragon just to like sacrifice it.
Yeah.
But even then, it's that thing's probably going to die that turn to the dragon, and then what do you do? Next turn, you're facing the same problem.
Yeah.
So if you're
Because
playing a competent player that just hides it behind, it's like,
yeah,
what do you?
it's not even a gamble, right? Like, you don't care if it hits your own. If you hit your own, it's like it's still a splash effect from your own guy, right? And it's likely a goblin. So from what I've seen, it's a very skewed list. So not saying it doesn't have any weaknesses, but you almost need these two things, or else you're gonna have like a hard time. So one of them is you need a caster, because if you can lock down the dragon through magic, then you know, most armies can take care of the rest of the goblins quite easily. And the other is really heavy shooting, including or without siege weapons, because the dragon is still only D7, large target, and it still has survival instinct. But yeah, from what I've seen, if you don't have those two, then it's going to be a long day for you.
Or a very short day because the game will be over quick. All your shit goes up in cinders.
I like the way you think.
It's definitely the biggest surprise out of this whole new book. It was a profile that everyone made fun of last edition. If you saw someone bring it to a tournament, it
Yeah.
was kind of a meme, right? So now it's considered a meta model. It's pretty big change.
The breathe fire change aside, I just want to say we called it. Yeah, maybe I was just me. I don't know if you guys agreed with me or not last when we were talking about this last edition. I said drop them by 50 points or make the upgrades cost 25 each. And that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
Games Workshop listens to us. Yay.
So Charles is actually the real winner here because he invested in the dragon stonks way low. He has two built and painted dragons, just sitting in the garage. Never seen him take it to the tournament, but now is his time.
Yeah. Just got to rebase them. And they're ready to go.
To bring it back around, it's in addition, they also got the tools, right? They got the drum that counts as a banner. It's big. Bat swarms back in. And let alone that just being a troop that's 12-inch fly, right? They still do their fight value thing.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean, it sucks a
Great.
little bit that they're beasts now, so they can't interact with like the so many objective scenarios. But obviously, flyer, 4 wounds, 2 attacks, like they're still really good. And a lot of the times you're taking Druzag now. And in Raging Bats, always a good time
Hmm.
for everyone.
What is that? Does that put him up to 4 attacks? Is it plus 2s?
It's +2 across the board, so +2 fight, +2 strength, +2 attack. Fearless now instead of +2 courage, but instead of rolling a strength 10 hit, it's an instant wound. So
Why'd they make it better?
you take an instant wound instead of 67%.
Should have always been instant.
And bats round up now for having fight
Yeah.
value, so slightly worse.
Yeah, okay, I get. I mean, it's only worse if you're fighting like against only the bat or like the bat and like a friend. It's only worse if you're fighting with just the bat. Like if you're fighting with like a prowler or like anybody else that has high boosted fight value or like even like a goblin captain, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah. But and just to add in like, why Depths of Moria was, dominating like early on in this edition as well. Moria Goblin profile has just been really solid. Like it is still the same points cost, right? Where a lot of things has gone up. So you're bringing a huge army of these backing up the dragon. I think that's the main thing. They're very efficient.
Jumping back to the drum, it's still an 18 inch. That's basically the Depths of Moria bonus. Like it's basically board wide.
And it's a banner now, right?
Yeah. So it just yeah, it makes the goblins even more efficient, right? Like they don't mind fighting one-on-one fights if you have that in there because they're like, well, I'm always going to be re-rolling anyway.
Shout out to our awesome Patreon community. Check out Patreon for more details, which includes extra perks like extra content and custom dice. I also want to shout out our sponsors. Check out the Baron of Dice website for a wide range of dice, including for Middle-earth. And check out the Mithril Brush painting contest dedicated to Middle-earth. We're doing a giveaway for all patrons who've entered by the end of the year. Links in the description below.
And thank you to our patrons for supporting us. And also thank you to Brandon. We'll see you guys next time.